All right, today we are diving into a story that is just incredible. It spans nearly 1,000 years, and it's got everything: faith, trade, power, and unbelievable resilience. We're going to explore the history of the Isaaq people.
So, how does that even happen? How does one person's journey, just one person, become the origin story for millions? It seems kind of impossible, right? But for the Isaaq, that's exactly how it went down. It all started with a single traveler and a journey across the sea.
So first, we'll start with this scholar, this wanderer. He sets foot on a completely foreign shore. And in doing so, he plants the seeds of what would become a whole new people.
And then you'll see how those seeds didn't just sprout. They grew into this powerful sultanate. I mean, they were controlling huge trade routes and really shaping the entire Horn of Africa.
But this story takes a really dark, really tragic turn. We're going to have to look at a period of just unimaginable hardship, a time when that very same power was targeted for complete annihilation.
And finally, and this is the amazing part, we'll explore how, from those very ashes, a brand new chapter was written, one of defiance, of rebirth, and the creation of a modern state. This, right here, is the story of the Isaaq.
Okay, let's do this. Let's go all the way back. I'm talking way back, to the very beginning, to a time of saints and scholars, and a single voyage that would literally change the course of history for this whole region.
So picture this. It's somewhere between the 12th and 13th centuries. A man, Sheikh Isaaq bin Ahmed, makes this journey from Arabia all the way across the Red Sea. He ends up landing in this little coastal town called Maith. And that journey, as simple as it sounds, well, that's the exact moment a whole new history kicks off on the Somali coast.
So who was this guy, right? Well, according to oral tradition, Sheikh Isaaq wasn't just some random traveler. No way. He was a deeply respected Islamic scholar, and get this, he was believed to be a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad's own family. He settles down in Maith, marries into the local families, and becomes the founding father, the progenitor of what we now know as the Isaaq clan.
And this right here, this is how a family literally becomes a nation. Think of it like a giant family tree. Sheikh Isaaq's sons, they're the main branches, and their descendants formed all these major lineages you see here: Habar Awal, Habar Jilo, Garhajias. And these aren't just names, they're the social and political structure of the Isaaq people, even today.
All right, so we've got the people. Now let's see how these powerful family lines came together to build a unified state, transforming themselves from just a people into a real, formidable power.
You know, for centuries, things were pretty decentralized. Different clan groups kind of did their own thing, under older structures like the Taljalo dynasty. But then, in the middle of the 18th century, everything changes. There's this huge shift. After a really important battle, the clans decide to unify, and boom, they create the Isaaq Sultanate. We're talking a centralized state with a single ruler. This was a massive, massive step.
So let's look at the key moments here. The Sultanate gets founded, right around 1749, by Sultan Guled Abdi. They set up their capital, first in a place called Tun, and then later in Hargeisa, which, is a major city today. And this thing thrived. I mean, really thrived, for more than 100 years before it was eventually absorbed into the Protectorate, British Somaliland, back in 1884.
So what did this sultanate actually do? Well, for starters, it governed a huge territory. It controlled all this lucrative trade. We're talking livestock, frankincense, the good stuff. And they were managing diplomatic relations. It wasn't just some loose confederation. It became this really sophisticated political machine, blending the power of a king with the traditional authority of the clan elders. Pretty smart.
Okay, every nation's story has its ups and downs. But for the Isaaq, what happened in the late 20th century, it was a period of just unimaginable horror. This is, without a doubt, the darkest chapter in their entire history.
So, in the 1980s, the Somali state, their own government, under the dictator Siad Barre, turned on the Isaaq people. I mean, just let that sink in. This timeline shows a full decade of systematic persecution. And it all came to a head between 1987 and 1989 in what is now widely and correctly recognized as the Isaaq Genocide. The human cost, it's just staggering. An estimated 200,000 civilians were killed. Just sit with that number for a second. 200,000. It's almost impossible to really comprehend that level of loss, all orchestrated by their own government.
And it wasn't just the people they were after. It was their entire existence, their cities, their homes. Major Isaaq cities like Hargeisa and Burko were just systematically bombarded,
from the air, from the ground, until they were 90% rubble. 90%. The goal was simple, and it was horrifying: erase an entire people from the map.
But the story doesn't end there. It can't, because out of all that horrific violence, something powerful rose up, a movement of resistance, a fight for sheer survival that would, once again, completely reshape the destiny of the Isaaq people. So, in response to this state-sponsored terror, the Somali National Movement, the SNM, was formed. It was, for the most part, an Isaaq-led resistance group. They were literally fighting back against the regime that was trying to wipe them out. You could say they became the armed embodiment of Isaaq's survival.
And this sequence here, it's a straight line. It shows you the direct path to a new state. First, the SNM's rebellion is a huge reason the Siad Barre regime gets overthrown in 1991. Then, in the chaos and the power vacuum that followed, the Isaaq and other northern clans, they didn't wait around. They took their destiny into their own hands and declared the independence of Somaliland. And that brings us right up to today. So the big question is, how does this long, incredibly dramatic history of faith, trade, genocide, and rebirth, how does it all shape the identity of the Isaaq and the nation of Somaliland as we know it? Well, the short answer is in pretty much every way imaginable. The identity of modern Somaliland is forged in the fire of this history. That spirit of commerce from the old Sultanate, the deep-rooted clan traditions, and, above all else, that incredible resilience they showed during the genocide. All of it. That's what defines the nation.
And you really can see these echoes of the past everywhere. The Isaaq clan is still absolutely central to public life. People still make annual pilgrimages to Sheikh Isaaq's tomb in Maith. I mean, they're connecting directly back to their founder centuries later. And that unique blend of clan-based governance and modern state politics, it's still there, and it's created this remarkable stability, especially when you compare it to the chaos that has so often plagued southern Somalia.
And you know, this all leads us to the central kind of baffling paradox of the Isaaq story. Think about it. Here you have a people with a 1,000-year history. They forged a state, they survived a genocide, and they built a peaceful, functioning democracy from the literal ashes. And yet, after more than 30 years, their nation, Somaliland, remains completely unrecognized by the international community. So it leaves us with this final, really powerful question. After a history that has been so profoundly defined by resilience, what's next for a nation that is still fighting for its place on the world stage?